TVweb.com.
Now, it's been 15 years. Can you tell me how being a part of television history has affected your life and how it continues to change and affect your life?
Wow, I always just felt fortunate to have been a part of the show. You know, I started it as basically a background performer, and midway through the second season, they developed the character of Gunther. So the time on the show was just, I'll never forget it, and it opened up so many doors, and most of the opportunities that came my way afterward were because of my being Gunther. It was remarkable. It just it made my years in grad school worth it.
Well, now part of television lore is that the reason you were set behind the counter was because you were one of the only people that knew how to work the Frappuccino machine. I'm wondering, where did you get your training as far as that goes, and what do you think that training did for you? I mean, did you ever expect that you would be in this role and have such an amazing part?
Absolutely not. I was, as most actors or struggling actors in Hollywood have to do, I had a job at a coffee shop called the Bourgeois Pig in Hollywood. And I was just working maybe a couple of days a week. And so a friend of mine who was the second AD, when Friends first came out, that's the assistant director, called me because he knew that I knew how to make coffee. And there was a coffee house set on this new series that might be pretty good, perhaps. So he called me up and said, well, would you like to come in just as a background performer, and we'll give you like a free meal, and also a free meal when you're a struggling, starving actor is always nice too. Yeah, I was, it was right place, right time with that sort of experience.
Now, do you ever have fans in the last 15 years come up to you and ask you for a coffee? I mean, do you ever have a problem with this in your own home where like relatives or friends come over and they just expect you to get them a coffee? I mean, has it been kind of a burden as far as that portion of the show goes for you in your life?
Well, that's one reason why I do not have a coffee maker in my house. I don't drink coffee that much in real life. If I want coffee, I'll go to a coffee house and have someone actually make it professionally for me. I have a tendency to burn coffee, you know, so it's not so good.
Now, what is that like when you walk into a coffee house? I mean, that's got to kind of turn heads and be like, wait a minute.
Well,
What's this guy doing here?
when I had the hair as Gunther, the bleached look, that was a few double and triple takes, especially if I go to the place on the block where I used to work. Occasionally they would make me make my own coffee because they weren't going to wait on me, so I'd have to go behind the counter and do it. And yeah, we'd have people from out of town, tourists coming in to see Hollywood, and they're like, okay, do they film Friends here, or what's going on here? So it's not so much of a problem, not anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Now, what do you think it is about the show that has made it endure over the last 15 years? Because, I mean, more and more fans are finding the show, and a lot of young kids are coming to it now who've never seen it before. I mean, what do you think it is about the show that really draws an audience in even today?
I think it's timeless. I mean, the struggles of these six characters, I mean, they're great performances by these great actors, the great scripts. It's not of its time, although yes, Friends was filmed during the 90s. I believe that the situations, although they're kind of absurd at times, that the characters go through are universal, and people can relate to that. You know, having these people who are your family, but they're your friends, and it's the longevity has surprised me, honestly, but I will still occasionally be like surfing through the channels and I'll say, oh, I love this episode. So I'm a fan of the show, although I was on it. So I think that that's probably a very nice, kind of lost my train of thought there.
You were a fan
I'm
of the
trying
show,
to,
so it's nice
I'm
to see the show
babbling.
when you're watching, you
Yeah.
watch the show.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Let me rephrase that. Okay, my answer for you there. I was a fan of the show as well as being a part of the show. So even now when I'm surfing through it late at night and here's Friends on like 15 times a day, which is really cool, I will stop and watch the episode just to enjoy the writing and the performances, and also because I have kind of a unique memory of being there on set, and I can remember things that happened on the set that day that weren't captured on camera. So it's really refreshing and nice to see a show that has that sort of substance.
And as with Archie Bunker, you watched that today, and a lot of the stuff they did on that show they couldn't get away with on television now. And I was in college when Friends was on, so I watched some episodes but wasn't paying too much attention to it. Recently, going back to it at night, I've realized that there's a lot of stuff on Friends, sexuality issues and homosexuality issues and all kinds of different jokes and stuff that you almost couldn't get away with today back in the 90s. And can you talk about sort of how you guys were breaking new ground with the show back then and sort of how the landscape of television has changed since that show was on till today as far as broadcast television?
It's a very interesting point you bring up. I believe that they really did kind of push the envelope with the show. They kept it respectful, though. You know, Friends was never overtly vulgar because it's a comedy. If you can laugh or make light of, well, not make light of issues, but, you know, to lighten the mood of particularly touchy subjects, then maybe you'll have someone who might be watching and say, okay, there's a bit of acceptance.
That's a ghost.
What's that? Oh, the ghost,
That's
yes.
a ghost.
Yes, there is a ghost.
Bit of acceptance.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to lose my thought. Yeah, the social issues that Friends dealt with. You were mentioning like the sexuality issues. They treated it with comedy. It's a comedy. Come on, lighten up, folks. You can laugh at these things.
Now, I want to know from part of lore, also television lore, is the hair. Now, from what I understand, that was an accident. Is that true? And can you talk about a little bit about how that hairstyle happened and where it went from when you walked into the casting office with that hairstyle?
Well, I didn't actually walk into the casting office. I showed up on set as an extra. The first episode of Friends. The night prior, a friend of mine who is a hairstylist decided that he wanted to, work on bleaching someone's hair, and since I really didn't have that much and still don't to begin with, I said sure. So he bleached my hair, and I walked in the next day, and they liked it, and of course, then I had to keep it for the next 10 years and bleach my hair every week for the next 10 years, which honestly was worth it. It was worth it.
I would think so.
Yeah. I wanted it to be the Gunther. You know, they had the Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
I always wondered why the Gunther never caught on.
Did it never take off? I'm not sure if I ever saw anybody rocking that hairstyle. But
Not many people that you would want to hang out with, I don't think. Yeah.
Okay, and the last question I'll ask you is about the fashions. Now, with these kids coming back and watching the show again, is there one particular clothing or hair fashion that you dread seeing coming back? Because, I mean, watching this the other day, I was shocked at how awful some of these clothes and hairstyles actually were.
Yeah, well, the Gunther definitely, not a hairstyle that's ever going to catch on, hopefully.
You don't know that. Couldn't see.
And I love the big ties that they would make my character wear, the really colorful, bright clothes. However, not necessarily something that I would be wearing in everyday life. Other fashions, those pants, what do they call them? The ones that are like pegged?
The culottes?
Yeah, those things. Yeah, they can just go away.
Those came back like 2 years ago.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they had them in the stores.
Horribly unfortunate.
It was sad. I saw some people wearing them.
Yeah.
Who made you wear that?
Our wardrobe department was great. I mean, and our set designers. I mean, we're here on the set of Friends at Warner Brothers Studio, which is recreated perfectly. And honestly, it's just a tribute to the creativity. So if they actually created fashion trends with this show, or hairstyles with this show, then that's good enough for me. I mean, it just helps it cement its place in history.